More people are moving to South Carolina than almost any other state in the country. And yet, right now, in 11 cities across this state, home prices are falling. In one of them, they have dropped nearly half. If you've spent the last 4 years watching prices climb out of reach, this is the turn you've been waiting for. So today, I'm counting down 11 South Carolina cities where prices are actually dropping this summer. What a home costs in each one now, and why. Because every discount has a reason, and the reason at number 1 has almost nothing to do with the housing market at all. Stick around and subscribe, because this list gets stranger the further down it goes. A quick word on the numbers. Everything here is current as of July 2026, rounded and pulled from the major pricing indexes. Where those indexes disagree, I'll say so out loud. The list runs from mild cooling to the steepest verified drop in the state, and every city comes with the real reason prices are falling. A discount without a reason isn't a deal, it's bait. Number 11 is Aiken. Horse country, brick storefronts, a downtown that never chased the boom. Prices here have slipped about 3% this year, with typical homes still in the low 300s. The reason is plain rate fatigue. Buyers who could afford Aiken 2 years ago are now priced out by the monthly payment, not the sticker price. Nothing broke here. The market just quietly stopped moving at the old speed. Aiken Regional Medical Center sits right in town, which is exactly why this dip doesn't run any deeper than it has. For a buyer, this is negotiating room, not a fire sale. You're not rescuing anyone, you're just getting a seat at a table that used to have a waiting list. Number 10 is Anderson. Close enough to Greenville to commute, cheap enough to matter, and for years prices rode Greenville's coattails all the way up. Now the coattails have let go. Values are down around 5%, with typical homes near the mid-$200, and listings that used to move in a weekend now sit long enough to need a price adjustment. Remote work loosened the leash. Greenville's own market cooled, and paying extra to live near a city that's also getting cheaper stopped making sense to anybody doing the math. And Med Health anchors downtown, which matters more here than the school district does. The honest read here is patience. Sellers who bought at the top are the ones most willing to talk, and in this market, silence from a seller usually just means they haven't gotten desperate yet. Number 9 is Spartanburg. New construction stacked up faster than buyers could absorb it, and that gap between what got built and what got sold is the whole story. Builders are now cutting prices and layering on incentives, paid closing costs, rate buydowns, free upgrades on the model homes nobody wanted at full price. Overall values are down about 7%, with typical homes in the low $200. But the real number isn't the sticker price, it's the payment. Here's the buyer's math. A rate buydown from a builder can save you more every month than a bigger price cut from a regular seller, because the buydown attacks the thing that actually determines your monthly bill. For the first time in years, the builders need you more than you need them, and that shift in leverage is worth more than any discount printed on a sign. Number 8 is Sumter. Shaw Air Force Base has always been this town's quiet engine, and uncertainty around base funding has buyers nervous enough to sit on their hands. Prices are down 9%, typical homes in the high $100. Softness concentrated in the neighborhoods closest to the gate. The mechanism is simple. When the base sneezes, the housing market catches a cold, because a meaningful share of this town's paychecks trace back to one federal budget line. Prisma Health Tuomi is in town, which keeps this from becoming a ghost town discount. If the base stabilizes, this window closes fast. Buyers who wait for total clarity usually wait past the deal. Number 7 is Camden. Colonial homes, steeplechase country, a market that used to sell on charm alone and never had to explain itself. This summer it's down 11%, typical homes in the mid-200s. The reason is insurance and property tax reassessments finally catching up with a market that never adjusted for them. Camden priced like it was 2019, for years after the rest of the state moved on, and the correction arrived all at once instead of gradually. For a buyer, that's leverage. Ask for the reassessment paperwork before you make an offer, because the seller's next tax bill is a number they'd rather you didn't see first. Number 6 is Georgetown, a working port town with a steel mill that's been shrinking for a decade, one round of layoffs at a time. Prices are down 15%, typical homes in the high $100. The mill's slow wind down is the real story. Every layoff round shows up in the listings 6 months later, like a tide going out in slow motion. Tideland's Georgetown Memorial covers the town, so the healthcare access that usually props up a retirement market is still intact here. This is a discount tied to a job market, not a bad year, and job markets take longer to fix than a housing correction does. That's 6 markets down, and the last 5 are where the discounts get steep. This channel tracks where the deals are actually forming in South Carolina, not just where the postcards are pretty. Real prices, honest reasons, every week. If that's useful, take 1 second and subscribe. Now, the deep end. Number 5 is Cheraw, the birthplace of Dizzy Gillespie, a downtown of antebellum homes, and a textile economy that finished unwinding years ago and never got replaced with anything else. Prices are down 20%, typical homes now under $150,000. It comes down to wages. When the mills left, the wage base left with them, and housing has been repricing to match ever since, one generation of owners at a time. McLeod Health Cheraw keeps care local, which is doing a lot of the remaining work in this market. This is a town selling on history, not income, and the buyers who do well here are the ones who came for the porch, not the paycheck. Number 4 is Marion, a courthouse square that used to anchor a busy little economy, back when the tobacco warehouses still ran full. Prices are down 26%, typical homes in the low $100. What's driving it is population loss. When young families leave faster than they arrive, inventory piles up and nobody's competing for it, so listings sit until a seller finally meets the market instead of the other way around. McLeod Health Clarendon is about 20 minutes out. The math here favors patient buyers who don't need a hospital next door and don't mind a longer runway before resale. This isn't a flip market, it's a settle-in market. Number 3 is Latta, a tiny PD town where the school system is the main employer left standing after everything else thinned out. Prices are down 31%, typical homes barely clearing $90,000. The cause here is blunter than most towns on this list. Fewer jobs, fewer buyers, and a market that's been quietly correcting for half a decade without ever making a headline. The nearest full hospital is 25 minutes away, and that drive is baked into every price here whether the listing mentions it or not. For a buyer, the math only works if the drive is a feature of your life already, not a compromise you're talking yourself into. Number 2 is Dillon, right off I-95, once a fireworks and truck stop economy that never found a second act after the manufacturing left town for good. Prices are down 38%, typical homes around $80,000. It's a compounding effect. Population decline, job losses, and aging housing stock all pulling the same direction at once, which is why this drop is steeper than any single cause could explain on its own. McLeod Health Dillon is in town, which is the only reason this market hasn't fallen further than it already has. The buyer's math here is blunt. At this price, a home barely needs to appreciate at all to have been worth buying in cash. Number 1 is Denmark, a quiet railroad town in Bamberg County, and the steepest verified home price drop in South Carolina. From its peak, Denmark has fallen a full 45%. A typical home here now costs well under $70,000, the cheapest verified entry point in the state, full stop. And this is the part that matters. The reason has almost nothing to do with mortgage rates. This isn't a rate story like Aiken, and it isn't a builder story like Spartanburg. The county hospital closed years ago. The local college shrank to a fraction of what it was. The water system made headlines for the wrong reasons, and once a town's water becomes a national story, the housing market stops asking what a house is worth and starts asking who's still willing to live there. The market has been repricing the whole town ever since, block by block. There's no single event left to point to, just years of compounding loss finally showing up in one number. The nearest full hospital is Regional Medical Center in Orangeburg, about 25 minutes up the road. That drive is priced into every home for sale, whether the listing agent says so or not. So is this a deal or a warning? Honestly, it's both, and pretending otherwise would be doing you a disservice. If you need medical care close at hand, this discount isn't for you. The drive alone should end the conversation. If you're younger, handy, and want a paid-off house for the cost of a used car, there's no cheaper front porch in South Carolina, and there may not be a cheaper one anywhere on the East Coast. Buy it with your eyes open. The market priced in that history long before you got here, and no amount of optimism changes what's already baked into the number. So that's the list. 11 cities where the market has actually turned, from a 3% cooldown in horse country to a nearly 50% collapse in a town most of the state has never had a reason to drive through. Before you chase any of these discounts, 3 rules. First, get the insurance quote and pull the tax reassessment before you schedule the inspection. On the coast and in the older inland towns alike, the fees are the real price. The number on the listing is just the opening bid in a conversation the HOA and the county haven't finished having yet. Second, always ask why it's cheap. Every discount on this list had a cause, whether it was a rate story, a builder story, or a hospital that closed a decade ago. And that cause is your leverage. A seller who can't explain the discount is a seller who hasn't priced in their own weakness yet. You just did it for them. Third, drive from the front door to the nearest hospital yourself and time it, at the hour you'd actually be making that drive. Don't take my word for anything a deed will hold you to, and don't take the listing agent's word either. And remember the strange part, because it's the part that should actually change how you think about this list. All of this is happening in a state more people are still moving to than almost any other in the country. That's not a contradiction, it's the setup. A market can be flooded with new residents and still have individual pockets correcting hard, because people move to a state, but they buy in a town, and towns don't all move together. Corrections in a state people keep moving into don't tend to last. The demand underneath these discounts hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been waiting for the price to make sense again. If you want to know when these windows open, and when they close, subscribe before you go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.